Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Boisterous coming to you with game 2 between Blazemost up here in the top right-hand corner and his opponent SHiN down here in the bottom left-hand corner. Of course, SHiN is the purple Protoss and his opponent Blazemost is the red Protoss, as his name would suggest and as is appropriate for a man named Blaze. Now, of course, as most people know, the SHiN is actually a purple bone, so this makes sense too. Just throwing it out there. That's my knowledge of anatomy talking. Titter. Anyway, yet again, I am alone because Kadoink is being all like, meow, meow, MLG, meow. That being said, MLG is awesome this weekend. I'm not sure how many of you have been following it, but it has actually been very sick. Idra, I think he has actually evolved. He's on to his next stage of Pokemon life. I think he is now the Idra. As Artosis, of course, predicted quite a while ago, because he just sees everything coming. He's actually pretty good at it. He's being very good at predicting plays and just cleaning them up without losing much. It's nice to see that level of like old Idra coming back, because Idra, even though he raged a lot, he was a very good player, and then he kind of fell off because he didn't rage as much. And now he's back to like no GGing in games, and he's actually doing well. He's doing well. I'm happy to see Greg succeed. Yeah, I still need to get a I might need to get a Release the Kraken shirt if he wins another MLG event, just because those shirts are so great. Release the Kraken. We do see SHiN and his opponent actually yet again. SHiN actually went for a 16 hash this game and the last game. I was just kind of being stupid. However, Blazemost actually did go for a 15 hash both games. So SHiN being a little bit, I want to say safer, but that actually delays his pool kind of. Yeah. Alright, well, I mean, they're both playing very similarly, and they actually both got their hatcheries down at almost the exact same time. There really isn't that much of a difference between these two plays, except for the fact that SHiN goes for a much earlier gas. Like, his gas is finished almost before Blazemost starts his, which is a big difference. That's literally like 25 to 30 seconds of speed being done for SHiN before it's done for Blazemost, which is a big timing to hit, especially if you can identify that as being something that your opponent does. It can be very key. And if Blazemost actually goes for a Baneling Nest again, Daybreak is a map where it's hard to defend this with Banelings. I mean, you can camp them on the ramp and you can camp them in this mineral line, but it's very hard, and most people try to do it and they just cannot. You cannot defend this with Banelings from a Zergling run by, because Banelings are just so slow. Oh my god, it's very depressing. Without centrifugal hooks, they are much slower than Zerglings. I think they're actually even slower than non-speed Zerglings, and speed Zerglings, just forget about it. It's not even close. And we see Blazemost actually, is he doing the same thing? Nah, I think he got his queen much earlier than he did last game. Like, last game, his first queen was like half to 3/4 of the way done before his second queen was started, which was kind of depressing because queens are so big in the ZBZ matchup. In fact, they're huge in any Zerg matchup currently. They're very good at dealing with a whole lot of things, especially with that +5 range. We actually see SHiN is going for an early Baneling Nest here as well. So we might see, you know, a nice little Ling Bling engagement here, you know? That's a very... Ling Bling is a playstyle that I cannot play. However, I respect everybody that can do it. I can't do it. It's too stressful. Too freaking stressful. Plus, it's like one misclick and everything you own dies, and you're over. And it looks like Blazemost is actually coming in for a suicide on this Overlord, but he's not going to see anything, so he's basically just sacking an Overlord for nothing. I don't know why he's sacking into the natural. There's almost never any tech hidden in the natural. That's kind of silly. It's a little bit silly. Of course, it's very nice for SHiN to get little tiny pickups like that, because now Blazemost is just a little bit behind. He's a little bit frazzled. He lost his Overlord. That's annoying. And we actually see a Roachhorn coming up from Blazemost, which is basically exactly how he played it last game. The only thing is that he does not have an Evo Chamber yet. And there's the Evo Chamber going down. There's actually 2 Evo Chambers going down. So he's going for a very heavy tech route, whereas, you know, SHiN is building his Roachhorn in just 1 Evo Chamber. In my opinion, unless you're going for like Ling Bling, 3 Evo Chambers is a bit heavy here. We actually see a nice Baneling hit. I would say that's like an even trade. I mean, Banelings are pretty expensive units. I'm pretty sure you only cleaned up 3 Zerglings there. So I guess it was a little bit of a loss on Blazemost's side. You want to, at the very least, clean up 4 Zerglings per Baneling. And that's at the very least. You really want like 6 to 12. But you very, very rarely get a situation like that. We see SHiN banking a lot of resources. Is he going to be going for? No, let's just build more drones. I might be going for a 3rd. SHiN has been shown to be that kind of heavy macro player. However, now that he has this giant league of Zerglings to contend with, I'll be very surprised to see him go for such a fast hatch. I bet he will be going for a large ball of lings of his own, and in fact that's exactly what he's doing. He has 30 lings on the way currently, popping out plenty of those little tiny buggers that you know, they're pretty good. We actually see he has a slightly bigger ling ball. Now of course with Baneling support, usually the smaller ling ball can win with ease, just because if a Baneling does hit, it does a lot of damage, and if it doesn't hit, your opponent's scared because it might hit. You never know. And it looks like we actually have a large amount of Zerglings moving down around here to the 3rd. Oh no! Oh! Ouch! That was really rough. I mean, that's the kind of trade you want on your Banelings. You want them to just nom 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 through all of your opponent's units. Now, of course, the one advantage that SHiN has is that he's actually not that far ahead in drone count. I thought he would have been much farther ahead at this point. He's, of course, building a hatchery of his own in his 3rd, but it's going to be a lot later than his opponent's. It's going to be like half a hatchery late. Which, I mean, this is kind of exactly what we saw last game, except in a completely different way. We saw SHiN taking little tiny incremental advantages, cutting Banelings, not going Banelings at all, not taking any real damage in the early game, not taking any damage that Blazemost needed to do in that sort of early game play, where he got a later hatchery, he went for more buildings, and you know, he just lost a lot of resources in that way. He just had less drones. And, you know, this game, SHiN has less drones. He has a lot of units that are just getting absolutely wasted. His 3rd is late. His, you know, he's losing a lot here. And he actually, I think he went for more attack than his opponent. Actually, no, because he only got 1 Evo chamber for a little while there. So they're approximately even. With SHiN a little bit actually ahead on. Maybe he did have 2 Evo chambers for this entire time. Maybe he just started upgrading it a lot later. He is of course going for that same sort of roach play, and this Overseer is being very annoying, and will of course be able to easily see this hatchery coming up, and there is the little tiny Zergling guy popping out. Will it be seen? Apparently not. Yeah, no. This little Zerglings guy is going to be ignored for a little while, which is pretty nice, because now he knows that SHiN has +1/+1, which is pretty important, because +1/+1 not only makes your roaches deal more damage, it makes them a lot tankier, and it makes your Zerglings a lot tankier. Now, of course, a good Baneling hit will still wipe out an entire platoon of Zerglings, no problem, but, you know, just on a Zergling versus Zergling fight, or a Zergling versus Roach fight, or a Roach versus Roach fight, or a Roach versus Baneling fight, you'll see a big swing to the player that has that +1 armor. Now, of course, they're both going to have +1 armor. +2 armor is going to be much faster for SHiN. He's going to have these kind of step-ups in timings where he can hit in like these 60-second areas, where he'll be able to just do an attack and deal a lot of damage purely because his upgrades are much better. It looks like finally the Changeling is cleaned up. You know, got quite a bit of scouting information. It saw the roach speed. It saw basically everything he needed to see. It saw the large amount of drones going to this 3rd. So, not quite sure what Blazemost. Whoa, that's a lot of spine crawlers. All right, maybe he is a little bit afraid of the fact that that +1 was that +1 armor was faster, and he saw both of those Evo chambers instantly start churning it out. And Blazemost is finally going for that super unit in the ZVZ matchup. He is getting pathogen glands for his infestors. He is also, interestingly enough, going for a Spire. And this is like the kind of tech choices that you shouldn't make. You shouldn't go both infestor and mules, because it's such a resource sink, and they both perform similar things, but the Infestor is just way better. In the current metagame, the Infestor is a much better unit than the Mutalisk. The only thing the Mutalisk really has is the ability to harass mineral lands, and you know, Queens are kind of starting to take that away. You know, you can easily fight off a ball of like 7 roaches with a Queen until the second one's going to arrive. We do have massive run bys happening here for Blazemost, however. It's not going to do a massive, it's actually not going to do a huge amount of damage. He might get a queen, he might get a couple drones, but that's, in the end of it, he's losing a lot of units for that. He does actually have Burrow, but he does not have Burrowing Claws, which is pretty annoying for SHiN, because SHiN thinks that he's back, and he's dead. He's still there. Oh man, and so many things just getting picked off. A lot of drones going down right there. But it looks like SHiN's roaches are going to be returning, and there is the Burrow again. I would not be surprised to see an Overlord morph right on top of them, and these roaches are going to be like, oh, I want to run, but they just can't. It's really depressing. Now, of course, Blazemost is actually taking a massive lead at this point. He did not do a lot of damage there. However, he did enough. He did all the damage he needed to do. And again, SHiN he's getting frazzled a little bit at this point in the game because Blazemost is coming at him from all angles. His army is very strong. With Tunneling Claws, these roaches are going to be able to survive for freaking ever because that's kind of just what they do. And you know, those infestors, they just have not hit the field yet. And he really needs those infestors at this point. And Blazemost is going to have them earlier. He's going to have a lot more of them. And that's really all you need at this stage of the game. He's even getting his 4th up right now. These players are actually both extremely good at getting ahead and then getting more ahead. And they have both shown this ability quite immaculately over both this game and the last game. Blazemost, of course, performing it this game, where he hasn't gone for that sort of all-in attack. He hasn't tried to kill his opponent. He's tried to do damage, and then he's just expanded. He's gotten his tech up. He's diversified. He's gotten a lot of things ready for when a lot more for when his opponent's really ready for the final battle. And of course, any player that has a better army during the step of the final battle wins the game, because that is, of course, the final battle. At this point, I would say that Blazemost can feel fairly confident actually moving in onto SHiN's territory. However, it looks like he's going to want to draw this out for a little bit longer, get those Broodlords out, and just take it very decisively, because that's the smart thing to do. You always want to go for the decisive victory over the just barely edging your opponent out one, because it's just better to win by a landslide, because no one's going to doubt your skill. I mean, no one's going to doubt your skill anyway. I would bring that up. However, winning by a landslide is a guaranteed win, almost always. Even if you draw it out to 20 minutes, that's perfectly fine. Just go for the guaranteed win. You never want to be like, whew, that was a close one, man. So glad I'm going into a game 3 against this guy, and he's not lacking in momentum. But it looks like SHiN is finally going to be, or not SHiN, Blazemost is finally going to be coming in for this sort of final engagement. He's going to be doing a whole lot here. All of the infestors are out of energy for SHiN, and Blazemost still have plenty. And there is the remax on even just Roach's death. I figured he would have been going for like Corruptors and stuff at this point, but no. It looks like all the units are going to clean up the Blazemost, or at least all the roaches on the ground. However, there are plenty more on the way. None of the infestors went down. That's really the key part. And he only really used 2 fungals, and that's pretty important because those are fungals he's gonna have for the next fight, which is a very, very nice thing to have. It's always good to have more fungals and more just spells than your opponent does. Plus, he should be able to get at least 6 to 8 Broodlords up, and 6 to 8 Broodlords win. They actually cannot be killed by infestors and roaches. It's impossible. There's just so many broodlings flying around. The scene gets so hectic, and it's impossible to chain fungal inbound because they have a lot of health, and it's very difficult to kill them. Oh my god! Wow! Oh, that is rough for SHiN. 3 infestors just walked right into the meat grinder of roaches that is here. And as soon as this +3 attack finishes, I would not be surprised to see him move up. And actually, whoa, before the +3 attack finishes, that's a little bit awkward. And a large amount of roaches is going to get fungled. And, he's trying to burrow and run away. However, there is an overseer here. Now, of course, this is exactly what Blazemost wanted him to do. He has managed to drag him into a little bit of an awkward situation for SHiN to be in. There are all the fungals, so much DPS off of those infestors. And it looks like Blazemost actually has a little bit of a better contour here. He is going to swing in from the right flank, and SHiN just calls the GG. Anyway, guys, if you'd like any other Boisterous action, you can head on over to youtube.com/user/BoisterousSC2. This will be going on to Game 3, so it will be posted extremely shortly after the first 2 are posted. And if you'd like any of your games commented, you can send them on into boisteroussc2@gmail.com. Also, if you have any tournaments you want me to commentate, have any, just, I don't know, I'll basically do whatever. I mean, just message me and I will definitely consider it and probably do it because I have time. Why not? So anyway, guys, this is Boisterous signing out.